Okay, in this video we're going to pick back up with part 2 of the insulated garage, adding an insulated garage slab on grade to the simple house project. So in the last video, part 1, we went ahead and set up the wall system. So we have a 2x4 wall running around the garage, and we set up a gypsum wallboard, both sides wall between the house and the garage. Now we're ready to start building the garage wall itself. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we're going to have to create two walls. First, a 4x8x16 solid CMU with 2 inches of rigid foam on the inside. And then we'll do a 8x16 CMU with foam as well. And then we'll bind or stack those two walls together. We'll also have to go ahead and set up our levels for the BO garage foundation and then also for the bottom of the footer. So we'll go ahead and get started on creating those walls in Revit. So to do that, we'll grab our wall tool and then we'll pull down our walls. And we're going to move up here to the top where we have, there's a 8x16 masonry concrete wall. We'll go and grab that wall, edit type, and then we'll hit duplicate. And we'll go ahead and highlight what we don't need. And we'll get rid of all this. And we'll keep the 8x16. And we'll just type in CMU. And then put in here 2-inch foam insulation. Alright, so with that we'll hit OK, and then we're going to go ahead and find that insulation. So we'll go ahead and move this down. We'll set up our 2 inches, and we'll pull this out of our material library here. So let's look in here and type in RIG. Should get, yep, so there is insulation thermal barriers. So we got a rigid insulation. We'll duplicate that. And then we'll go ahead and set this up. So we're going to have, we'll keep rigid insulation, and we'll just call this 2-inch rigid insulation. Highlight this again, paste it in here. Done this multiple times before. So now we have that set up, and then we'll hit OK. Hit OK again. And now what we're going to do is immediately hit edit type one more time on the same wall. Then we'll hit duplicate. And this time, instead of this being changing this a whole lot, we're going to add a 4. So it's a 4x8x16, or we can just call it a 4x16. But I'll call this all out. 4x8x16 solid. A solid CMU. And this is going to be the top cap. So this will be the top cap of the wall. We'll still keep that 2-inch foam insulation in the name. And then we just come into here, instead of this being 8 inches, we'll change this up to be 4 inches. We'll also go ahead in here and we'll duplicate the material. And we'll change this up also. And then we'll call this out completely. So this is going to be a 4x8x16. And that's your, I'll just call it CMU. This will be easier when we start tagging things. So we'll copy that and we'll paste it into here as well. So with that all set up, we'll hit apply, we'll hit OK. And now we have our two walls set up for us so that we could go ahead and start stacking these walls together. So I'll go ahead and pull down to my stack wall area, and I'll just grab one of my walls here. I'll just use that 2x6. We'll edit the type, duplicate it, and again we'll have to type all this stuff out one more time. So this is going to be a 8, well, let's start with the top, 4x8x16, and this is a solid CMU, comma, 8x16 CMU, and then this all has 2 inches foam insulation. So now we go find those walls, and instead of having the 2x6 here, we're going to go find the wall that we're looking for, which is that solid CMU, and then we'll go find that 8x16 with foam insulation. This becomes a variable because that's the one that's going to get larger and smaller. The height of the 4x8, that's going to stay pretty standard. That's going to be 8 inches in height. So we can take a look at the preview as well, and we can see what we're going to look at here is the section. And the only thing that I see here is this offset. That's not necessary anymore. So that can be nice and flush on the outside. This is going to be the ledge that the concrete floor sits on. So the insulation for the floor will run across, and it'll all meet up nice and neat here. So with that all set up, we should be all good to go. And hit OK. Hit OK. And now we're ready to start. We can start sketching in the wall for the foundation. So actually, before we start sketching in walls, we need to set some layers up here because we'll need those to draw our walls. So let's take a look back here at the assignment. And when I'm taking a look here, it looks as if we need to set up that BO garage foundation, -4 feet, 5.5. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then we'll set up the footer as well. So we'll jump back into Revit, and I'm just going to jump into one of my elevations to do this. I'm not really worried about anything over here. I'm going to focus over here with my garage, and I'll just go to my architecture tab, grab my level, and I'm going to pull all the way across the house to do this and then get this outside here. And we'll actually go ahead and just do 2 right away, and we'll zoom in here. We'll swap this out to be 1/4 inch just so I can see it a little better. And so my first level, this is going to become my bottom of garage foundation. All right, that's all set. Rename, absolutely. And then we're going to go ahead and set this up for -4 feet. And then that's going to be -4 feet, 5.5 inches. That jumps into position. And then we'll do the same thing for bottom of garage footer. And then we'll set this up. Yep, rename. And then we'll go ahead and set this up so that this is going to be -5 feet, 1.5 inches. Okay. Always will hit the elbows to get those to show up. We'll probably not be in this view again for a while. So we'll pull out of there. And now we're ready to go ahead and start sketching in our wall. All right, so now let's start drawing our walls. Grab the architecture tab. Then I'll go ahead and grab the wall tool. And I get that stacked wall we just built. And I'm going to go ahead and set up that the base constraint, well, first the location line here is going to be core face exterior. And then the base constraint is going to be set up so that it's going to be the BO garage foundation. And then the top constraint is going to be TO foundation. So then while I'm in level 1, I'm going to be able to then zoom in and find that layer just underneath of the studs. So the sheeting is outside, same with the siding. So I'm underneath of my stud wall, and now I'm going to go ahead and draw directly over top of that stud wall. I'm actually drawing directly underneath of the stud wall, and you notice a little error that popped up in the corner there. So as I'm doing this, get this error in the corner, and what that error is saying is that you just can't see these walls. And that's okay. I know I can't see them. I will end up seeing them when I jump into my 3D view. So we'll zoom out here a little bit so I can see that lock. And we keep going around here. And then this will actually go all the way to that. So with those all set up, hit escape twice to stop drawing walls. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a look at my default 3D view. And when I jump into the default 3D view, you can see that I now have the foundation wall underneath of my garage. And my actual wall has a lip to it. So you can see down inside there that I have a lip that I'm going to end up setting my concrete on. So with that set up, we're all good to go. And we will then continue now to get the footer underneath of that wall. So to go ahead and start drawing your footer, I always like to go into my bottom of foundation, the actual full foundation. Because in the end, on a foundation plan is where I would show my garage and my full foundation. So what I do is I set this up, and I'm going to go ahead and clean up some of these dimensions here in my way. So I really haven't been in here yet. So we'll clean out some things I'm not using, and don't really need this dimension in here right now. And zoom in, see that a little bit off from touching that foundation. So I'm going to go ahead and just make sure that touches. So it grabs hold there. And then I'm going to go ahead and start with my footer. So I'll grab my wall tool, and then there's my basic, that's my 24-inch footer concrete. And then I'm going to set this up so that the base constraint is going to be the bottom of the garage footer, There it is. And it's going to go up to the bottom of the garage foundation. Although I'm using this drawing, it's still drawing where I told it to draw. And then I can remember, say, wall center line, because it's going to be centered. And then this is a 4-inch block sitting on an 8-inch block. So although I may not want wall center, I want to make sure that I'm going to be centered on the structural elements. So I'll go ahead and pull out until I hit the next point, and I just keep working my way around. Until I come back into the structure. All right, so there we are. I could easily go ahead and hit escape twice. I can go ahead and select all the footers by holding down Control, and I can immediately go right into override graphics by element for the hidden line pattern. Get that hidden line 1/16, hit apply, hit OK. That way I won't forget to do that later on when I'm laying out my drawing. So now we are ready to start to look at some more details with the garage door and how the garage door gets set and placed. Okay, so to understand how this garage door and the walls interact, I opened up another drawing here where you can see the difference in the walls here. So here we have our solid 4x8 solid cap. Then this is our cinder block wall. Then we have our garage door. You can see that the garage door comes down and sits on the slab. So this cinder block, this top cap, has been removed so the slab can come through the wall at that point. All right, if we go back and we take a look at the assignment, you can see that with the detail section where the garage is located, this is the garage door coming down right here, hitting the top of the concrete slab. Here is the 8x16 cinder block, and then there's no top cap. So that top cap has to be removed where the door is located. And you can see that very clearly right here. So to go ahead and do that, what we're going to do is we need to see where do we need to cut this wall so that our slab can run through that area. So to do that, we're going to come over here and we're going to then set up the base range for underlay. So the range base, and we're going to then pull this down and we're going to select level 1. By doing that, we should now be able to see that garage door that is on that level 1. So what we can do is zoom in. I can select the stacked wall. I can grab the split element tool. So grab the split element tool. And then I'm going to zoom in very close and make sure that I'm over top of the wall that I want to cut. And then I click. You can see a line shows up. I'm going to do it to the other side as well. What I'm going to do is I'm just cutting this cinder block wall, this stacked wall. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to delete this wall. But instead of just deleting it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace it with a different wall that's not stacked, but it's just going to be a standard 8-inch cinder block. Now it's going to be a standard 8-inch cinder block with foam, and it's going to go from the bottom of the garage foundation up to the top of the foundation. So I've basically just replaced it. Now the only other thing that I need to do is I then will now need to bring this down to the level where the concrete will need to sit. So that level is I'm set up over here. So TO foundation, top offset, I'm going to make that -8 inches. So I don't need that first top course. And what you see now is where that wall is broken. And that's where we're going to have a turned down slab or thickened slab their cars can drive in on so they don't run over this top course. So with that set up, our foundations, take a look at this thing here in 3D. And we can see what we have so far is that we've got the garage wall. We've got the broken slab here where that's our top course. This is where the slab's going to come through. And then we'll end up moving all this stuff down as needed. For right now, it's in a great position. So what we'll do is this will be part 2. And in part 3, we'll go ahead and finish up the foundation with a slab and the necessary details.